Just when we thought Samsung was done playing musical chairs with smartphone chips, the latest leak flips the script, literally. The Galaxy S26 series is reportedly bringing back the dual chip strategy, and if you've been following the S series drama, you already know what that means. Snapdragon in one region, Exynos in another. But this time, the stakes are higher, the chips are smaller, and Samsung seems dead serious about giving Exynos another shot at redemption. Let's dive into what's going on. According to a report from Newspim, picked up by tipster Jukanlos Rave, Samsung is planning to split the Galaxy S26 lineup between Hyena Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 Elite 2 and its own in-house Exynos 2600, which is rumored to be built on a cutting-edge 2nm process. Now, this isn't the first time Samsung's pulled this move. They tried it with the Galaxy S24 series, and surprisingly, it actually worked out quite well. Performance was balanced, thermal issues were mostly under control, and the Exynos 2400 didn't disappoint, at least not like its infamous predecessors. But after the Galaxy S25 skipped Exynos entirely due to massive cost implications and yield problems with their 3nm process, Samsung was forced to go Snapdragon only across the board. That strategy, while safer, hit the company's margins hard. Qualcomm chips are expensive, especially the latest ones, and if you're shipping millions of units, every dollar matters. So now Samsung is pivoting. Again. So what's the new plan? Apparently, the Galaxy S26 and S26 Plus will be the primary playgrounds for this chip split. In North America, China, Japan, and South Korea, Samsung is going all in on Snapdragon. No surprise there, these are highly competitive markets where performance perception is king. If your phone stutters or overheats even a little, reviewers will tear it apart. Snapdragon 8 Gen 4, or Elite 2 as it's being branded, is shaping up to be an absolute beast, so Samsung's not taking any chances. But outside these regions, it's Exynos time. In countries across Europe, Africa, the Middle East, India, and much of Southeast Asia, the Galaxy S26 and S26 Plus are likely to come with the Exynos 2600. Now, here's the kicker. This chip is being built on Samsung's brand new 2nm node, which, if it works as promised, could finally put Exynos back on the performance map. That's a big if, though. We've heard bold promises before. Remember the Exynos 2200? Yeah. And if you're wondering about the Galaxy S26 Ultra, Samsung's flagship beast, no need to worry. That one's getting Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 in every region, just like the S24 Ultra. No Exynos experiments there. Samsung knows that the Ultra buyers expect the best, and the best right now still means Qualcomm. So, just to be crystal clear, if you buy the S26 Ultra, you're getting Snapdragon, no matter where you live. If you buy the S26 or S26 Plus, it'll depend on your region. Snapdragon if you're in North America, China, Japan, or Korea. Exynos everywhere else. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Exynos 2600 isn't just another mid-cycle refresh. Internally, Samsung has been betting big on this chip. It's supposed to be their first mass-market 2nm SoC, and that means more transistors, better efficiency, and theoretically, better performance. But that's only if Samsung can get the yields right. Right now, the word is that 2nm yields are still too low to scale for a full global rollout, which is likely why they're limiting Exynos to less sensitive markets. What does less sensitive even mean? Basically, regions where performance isn't scrutinized as harshly, and where Exynos has historically had a little more breathing room. Think Europe or India, markets that may care more about value and battery life than raw GPU benchmarks. But let's not forget what happened with the Exynos 2500, Samsung's first real 3nm chip. It never made it to market. The yields weren't there. The design was solid on paper, but in reality, it ended up stuck in R&D limbo. That's why the Galaxy S25 series dropped Exynos entirely. Now, it looks like Samsung might reassign that chip to the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and keep the Exynos 2400 for the rumored Flip FE variant. So in a way, Samsung's treating its chip development like a chessboard. Move the failed 2500 to the foldables, test the 2600 in mass-market S-series models, and let Qualcomm carry the flagship until their in-house silicon is truly ready to dominate. And it makes sense, because if Samsung can pull off a truly competitive Exynos chip built on 2nm, it changes the game. It gives them control over cost, supply chain, and performance tuning. No more dependency on Qualcomm, no more inflated chip costs. And most importantly, it sets Samsung up to be a full stack smartphone powerhouse, like Apple. But there's still a lot we don't know. What kind of GPU will the Exynos 2600 use? Will Samsung stick with AMD RDNA graphics like they did with the 2400? Or are they pivoting to something else? How will thermal performance compare to Snapdragon's Elite 2? Will there be any real world difference in photography, AI, or gaming? We'll likely get those answers in the months leading up to the official Galaxy S26 launch. But one thing's for sure, this is shaping up to be one of Samsung's most interesting chip strategies yet. Now, if you're someone who's planning to buy the Galaxy S26, here's the big takeaway. Pay attention to your region. The phone you get in the US will not be the same as the one in France or India, even if it looks identical on the outside. The chipset matters. It affects performance, battery life, and even software optimization. Samsung is walking a fine line here. On one hand, they're reducing costs by using their own chips. On the other, they're risking regional performance gaps that might stir controversy again, like we saw during the Exynos 990 era. The good news? Samsung seems to have learned from its past mistakes. The Exynos 2400 wasn't a disaster, it was actually competitive. If the 2600 is an improvement on that, we might finally reach a point where Exynos versus Snapdragon isn't a debate anymore. It's just a choice. But we'll have to wait and see. Until then, let me know what you think about Samsung's chip splitting strategy. Would you be okay with an Exynos-powered Galaxy S26 if it meant a lower price and solid performance? Or are you holding out for the Snapdragon no matter what? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're enjoying this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more mobile tech breakdowns, just like this one.